We spend our lives believing we are the ones behind our thoughts, the doers, the planners, the selves moving through time. But what if that's never been true? What if the voice in your head isn't you, and never was? This audiobook explores the illusion of the thinker, the sense of self built from memory, thought, and habit. It gently reveals how awareness exists prior to all of it. Before the voice, before the story, before the search. Through stillness and simple observation, you will be guided back to the truth that has always been here. Not as an idea, but as direct experience. There is no thinker. There is only thought. There is no self. There is only awareness. And in that seeing, there is peace. Chapter 1. Thought without a thinker. We live most of our lives inside a voice we never chose. It speaks from the moment we wake up until the moment we sleep. And even then, it sometimes echoes through our dreams. This voice comments, judges, remembers, plans, worries, fantasizes, regrets. It feels personal. It uses our name. It speaks with our emotional tone. And so we believe it is us. We say, I think. And in doing so, we take ownership of something that may not belong to anyone at all. But if we slow down, if we pause and begin to investigate what's actually happening in our direct experience, we begin to see something startling. The thought appears on its own. It emerges, uninvited, like a ripple in still water. You didn't ask for it. You didn't build it from parts. You didn't select it from a shelf. It arrived. And just as easily, it faded. Try this now. Sit in silence and wait for the next thought to arise. Watch carefully. Don't anticipate. Don't try to stop it. Just be there. And then, there it is. A phrase, a memory, a word. Did you make it? Did you decide to think it? If you look honestly, the answer is no. It just came. Like a sound in the distance, like wind moving through trees. This is where something profound begins to shift, because the entire foundation of our self-concept, of our identity, is built on the assumption that we are the thinker, that there is a self, a central I, that chooses each thought, controls its direction, owns its content. But in truth, the thoughts are just appearing and disappearing, one after another, without a controller. This insight has been at the heart of contemplative traditions for thousands of years. In Buddhism, the self is understood not as an entity, but as a process, a bundle of thoughts, sensations, and perceptions clung to by habit. In Advaita Vedanta, the illusion of the doer and the thinker is the final veil to fall. And even in modern neuroscience, the brain is increasingly understood as a pattern-generating system with no central narrator, no homunculus in the driver's seat. What does this mean for you, sitting here, listening to these words? It means that your experience of being someone, a person thinking, controlling, managing, might be more fragile than you've ever realized. And that behind the curtain of constant thought, there is something else. Something deeper, something still. Awareness, not a thinker, not a narrator, but a space in which thinking occurs. Let's explore this further. Say a thought arises now. I'm not doing this right. Just observe it. Where did it come from? Did you deliberately decide to have that thought? Or did it simply emerge? And what happens if you don't believe it? If you just let it pass? Another thought arises. This is interesting. Again, notice it. What generated it? Did you make it? Did you think it into existence? The pattern is clear. The thoughts appear. They belong to no one. They float into awareness. They float out, like clouds in the sky, like echoes with no speaker. But then, what about the sense of I? Doesn't it feel like there is someone in here experiencing all of this? Yes, That's the deeper illusion. Not only do we assume we are the thinker, we also assume we are the one observing the thinking. But look again. This observer, this eye behind the eyes, can you find it? Can you locate it in space? Does it have a shape, a boundary, a voice, or is it too just another thought? A very convincing thought that says, I am here. I am the one listening. I am the one doing. The truth is, even the sense of being a self is just another appearance in consciousness. A momentary impression, a feeling, a narrative, and behind it, as always, is just awareness. Silent, still, unchanging. This realization does not come from analysis. It doesn't come from debate or philosophy. It comes from direct, honest looking, from the willingness to stop pretending, from the courage to turn inward and see what's actually here. And what you find is this. The thinker was never there, only thinking. The doer was never there, only doing. The self was never there, only experience arising and passing in an open field of knowing. This realization changes everything, not in a dramatic way, but in the most fundamental way possible. Because when the illusion falls, what remains is peace. A peace that does not depend on what the mind is saying. A peace that is not disturbed by thought. Because it is prior to thought, you are that peace. You are that awareness. Always have been. Always will be. Thought will still happen. That's not a problem. The mind will still speak. That's not wrong. But now you see clearly. You are not the content of thought. You are not the thinker of thought. You are simply the space in which thought appears. And in that space, everything can arise. Without fear, without grasping, without confusion. There is nothing to fix, nothing to become. Just this. Just now. The thinker is a dream. Awareness is the waking. Chapter 2. The stream of thought. Thought flows like a river, ceaseless, winding, always moving. It starts somewhere unseen and travels endlessly through the landscape of our awareness. It carries memories from the past, expectations for the future, judgments about the present. Sometimes it's a gentle stream, other times a roaring flood. But always it moves, and we, without noticing, often move with it. We're born into this river. From childhood, the stream of thought becomes our environment. We learn to name things, form concepts, organize reality with language, and slowly, imperceptibly, we become identified with the movement of thought. We believe we are it. We don't just have thoughts. We become the thinker, and in doing so, we step into a role that was never real. Pause now and become aware of the current. Notice what's moving through the mind. Perhaps there are fragments of what you heard today, echoes of something someone said, a to-do list, a question, a memory. Thoughts don't wait for permission. They move of their own accord, like clouds crossing an open sky. You may have noticed that most of these thoughts are repetitive. They cycle through familiar themes: self-doubt, planning, comparison, self-narration. They create a sense of continuity, a feeling of me moving through time. But that me is just a story. It's not a thing. It's a bundle of thoughts held together by habit. When we observe the stream directly, something begins to shift. We see that thoughts are not tethered to a thinker. They are spontaneous, autonomous. They bubble up like spring water from some unseen source. You are not making them. They are happening. This insight can change everything. If you are not choosing your thoughts, if they are simply appearing, then what is the self that claims them? What is the I that says, I thought this, or I believe that? We often speak of my thoughts or my beliefs, as though there's an owner standing behind the scenes. But when we go looking for that owner, we find only more thoughts. We never arrive at a self. We only find more activity. The illusion of ownership is subtle. It's sustained by language. The mind says I, and we agree. But the word is not proof of an entity. It's just a placeholder, a habit, a function of grammar, not of reality. Sit with this for a moment. Let the stream move. Don't interfere, just watch. Thoughts rise, thoughts fall. They pass through awareness like wind through an open window. And you remain, the awareness in which the stream moves. When this is seen clearly, there is relief. You are not the storm. You are the sky. You are not the voice. You are the silence that hears it. But this isn't a place the mind can stay for long. It will pull you back into the current. It will try to reassert control, to claim ownership again. And that's okay. The point is not to stop thinking. The point is to stop mistaking thinking for being. You are not the stream. You are the space in which the stream flows. And that space is never touched by the content of thought. Even painful thoughts lose their power when seen this way. A thought of fear may arise, but you don't have to identify with it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it pass. Don't grasp. Don't resist. Let it flow. This is the beginning of true freedom. Not freedom from thought, but freedom from the thinker. The idea that there is someone in here orchestrating the mind is the deepest illusion. And once it's questioned, it begins to dissolve. Some traditions call this liberation. Others call it awakening. But the name doesn't matter. The experience is simple, immediate, and available now. You don't have to go anywhere to find it. Just look, just listen, just notice the stream, and recognize that you are not within it. You are the witness, the presence, the stillness. There is nothing to add, nothing to fix, just the ongoing miracle of awareness itself, watching it all unfold. And when the stream becomes turbulent, as it will, you don't have to get swept away. You can return to the shore. Sit quietly. Watch the water. Let it pass. The stream will never stop. But you don't have to follow it. You can simply let it be. And in that letting be, you begin to remember who you truly are. Chapter 3. No one behind the voice. The mind is filled with sound. Even in silence, the voice continues, rehearsing, evaluating, remembering, analyzing. It speaks in your native tongue. It mimics your tone. It knows your memories. And because of that familiarity, it feels like it must be you. But is it? This voice has been with you for as long as you can remember. It tells you what to do, what to worry about, who you are. Sometimes it's kind. Often it's critical. But above all, it feels personal. So personal, in fact, that we rarely question it. We don't stop to ask, who is talking? If you listen carefully, you'll notice that the voice is always just ahead of your attention. It appears before you claim it. It narrates your life, not at your command, but as if on a loop, programmed by years of habit, culture, memory, and reaction. You may recognize the voice, but that doesn't mean you control it. You are hearing it, not creating it. Try this now. Simply notice the next sentence your mind speaks. Anything at all. Don't try to change it. Just wait and listen. There it is. A thought, a line of inner dialogue. And here's the real question. Where did it come from? Did you summon it? Did you plan it? Or did it just happen? The more closely you watch, the more you'll begin to see that the mind works on its own. The voice operates like background music. It plays automatically. You don't press play. You don't compose each note. You just hear it. And yet we spend most of our lives obeying that voice, reacting to it, defending its content as though it's who we are. We say, "I'm anxious," because the voice said something fearful. Or, "I'm a failure," because the mind played a critical phrase. But these are just thoughts, and thoughts are not the truth. They are appearances, like shadows passing over water. Still, the illusion is persistent. Because the voice uses I, it feels like a speaker must be present. But the word I is just another word, a familiar shape in the thought stream. It does not prove the existence of a thinker any more than the word sun makes light shine. When we go looking for the speaker, truly looking, we find nothing. No person, no pilot, no central self. There is just thought arising and awareness, witnessing it. This realization can be unsettling. For years, perhaps decades, you've believed that someone was in charge. Someone was behind the scenes, pulling the levers. And now, as you investigate, that someone is nowhere to be found. But this is not a loss. It's a release. The pressure to control every thought, to curate every feeling, begins to fade. You realize you are not failing at being the thinker. You were never the thinker to begin with. You are the space in which the voice arises. You are the awareness that hears it. And awareness does not judge, cling, or argue. It simply sees. Even this voice, even this realization, is another movement within that space. You might ask then, if there is no self behind the voice, why does it seem so personal? Why does it remember your childhood, your preferences, your traumas? Because the mind is a recorder. It stores data, and the voice draws from that storehouse. It speaks with your memories because that's what's available. But a memory is not a self. A reaction is not an identity. They are just content, not the container. The voice is a storyteller, a very good one. It weaves your history into a narrative. It builds character. It creates plot. It defines enemies, roles, expectations. But it is just that, a story. And stories, no matter how compelling, are not the one reading the book. You are the reader. You are the awareness behind the story, not the character within it. To live from this realization is not to become passive. It is to become free. Free to observe thought without believing it. Free to act without being bound by the voice's commentary. Free to rest in the silence that remains when the story pauses. Sometimes that silence can feel like emptiness, but only because we've been so busy filling it. We are taught to fear the quiet, to stay distracted, to keep the inner monologue running. But the silence is not empty. It is full, with clarity, with presence, with peace. When the voice quiets, even for a moment, something sacred appears, a stillness that doesn't need explanation, a being that doesn't need to be justified, a simple, luminous awareness. This is your true nature, not the noise, but the knowing, not the words, but the witness. There is no one behind the voice. There is only awareness, watching it speak. And that awareness is you. Chapter 4. The Myth of Control. For most of our lives, we believe we are in control of our thoughts, our actions, our choices. We are taught from childhood to be responsible, to make the right decisions, to plan, strive, achieve, and correct course when we fail. This sense of agency is woven into every corner of our culture. We reward those who took charge of their lives and pity those who seem to have lost control. But what if control itself is the illusion? Start with a simple question. What will your next thought be? Try to decide. Wait for it. And there it is. But did you truly choose it? Or did it appear uninvited, unexpected, just like the last one? The illusion of control is so subtle, so convincing, that it seems almost absurd to question it. Of course I choose. I decide to move, to speak, to act. But look again, closely. When a decision arises, it arrives in the same way as any other thought. Suddenly, it's there. I'm going to do this. The moment before that thought appeared, did you know it was coming? Who chose the decision? This is not to say that there is no behavior, no outcome, no intention. But what we're pointing to is the gap between intention and identity. The fact that what you call your decision is itself just another thought, appearing in awareness, unbidden, unowned, unfolding. We often say, I made a choice, but look closely. What made the choice? Did you engineer the conditions that led to the thought? Did you construct your preferences, beliefs, history, personality, culture, and brain chemistry, all of which influence the thought? Or did it all simply happen? What we find, if we're honest, is that even choice is a product of causes we did not choose. Our genetics, our upbringing, our life experiences, they all contribute to the moment a decision arises. And yet we take personal credit for the entire machinery. This belief is deeply reinforced. It gives us a sense of agency, of being a separate someone navigating life's terrain. But the moment we drop into stillness and investigate directly, the mechanism falls apart. There is action, there is movement, but no controller. There is thought, but no thinker. There is choice, but no chooser. This realization is not disempowering, it's liberating. Because when we see that we are not the controller, we also see that we are not the failure, the guilt, shame, and constant self-judgment that arise from feeling like we're always falling short. These begin to dissolve. We realize that we are part of something much larger than our imagined identity, a field of being, unfolding moment by moment, thought by thought, without a separate center pulling the strings. This doesn't mean we abandoned responsibility, but we begin to understand responsibility in a new way, not as the burden of a fictional self, but as a natural responsiveness of presence. We act because action arises. We speak because speech flows. We show up in life not as someone separate from it, but as part of its unfolding. This is where true peace begins, not in mastering life, but in letting go of the illusion that there is a you who must master it. Stillness becomes available. The pressure lifts. The constant inner striving to control, manage, predict, and perfect begins to quiet down. The myth of control, once seen clearly, begins to dissolve, and in its place, something softer appears. Trust. Not a belief, not blind faith, but a quiet trust in the flow of things, a sense that life is moving, and we are being moved with it, not as puppets, but as part of the dance. Imagine a leaf on a river. It doesn't resist the current. It doesn't say, I should have turned left. It simply moves. It flows. And in doing so, it fulfills its place in the whole. You are not the leaf. You are not the river. You are the space in which both appear. You are the seeing of it all, the silent witness to the thought, the choice, the action, the consequence. This is not passivity. It is the most profound participation, not as a self trying to manage the universe, but as the awareness in which the universe is known. When the myth of control falls away, what remains is not chaos. What remains is peace. And in that peace, life becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. Things arise. Things pass. You act. You rest. You notice. You live without the need to own it. And that in itself is freedom. Chapter 5. The Search for the Self. The idea of the self is so deeply ingrained in human experience that questioning it can feel almost dangerous. Everything we do, feel, and think is framed around this central point. The I at the center of the story. I am the one who woke up this morning. I am the one who listened to this audiobook. I am the one who will decide what to believe, what to become, what to do next. But who, or what, is this I? If you stop and look for it, where is it located? Not in theory, not as a concept, not what you've read or been taught, but in your direct experience, in the living truth of this moment. Close your eyes and try to find it. Not your body, not your thoughts, not your memories, but you, the one you call me, the one who owns it all. Where is it? You may find sensations, pressure behind the eyes, the rise and fall of breath. You may find thoughts about what you should be feeling, memories that seem to confirm your identity, emotions that say, "This is me." But each of these, when observed, is just another appearance, another object within awareness. None of them are the observer. Thoughts arise, sensations arise, but the observer, the true self, never shows up as an object. You cannot observe it because it is not a thing. It is not inside the content. It is the context. Every thought about I is just that, a thought, a mental construction. It doesn't prove the existence of a permanent, unified, separate self. It only proves that the mind has learned to use the word I in certain ways. And yet, because the body carries your name, your history, and your habits, it becomes easy to fuse that conditioning with identity. But the body is not the self. It changes constantly. Its cells replace themselves. Its shape shifts. Its sensations come and go. So too with the mind. Your beliefs have changed. Your memories are fragmented and unreliable. Your preferences evolve. Your roles shift. The you of 10 years ago is hardly the same you that sits here now, and yet awareness, what you truly are, has remained unchanged, always present, always witnessing. That's because the self is not a fixed thing. It is not an object. It is a process, a pattern, a mirage created by thought and language, a center that only appears when thought arises to describe one. And when you stop believing the thoughts, the self disappears, not in a frightening way, not in a nihilistic way, but in a liberating way, like realizing the movie is just light on a screen, like recognizing the puppet has no strings of its own. You are not the character. You are not the actor. You are not the script. You are the awareness in which the entire performance unfolds. The search for the self, if followed honestly and rigorously, always ends in silence. There is nothing to find, no thing to hold on to, just an open, spacious field of experience, vivid, intimate, alive, and impersonal. Some call this emptiness. Others call it presence. Some call it God. The words do not matter. What matters is the seeing. What matters is that the thing you have spent your life protecting, perfecting, and promoting, the self, is not what you are. You are not inside the body. You are not behind the eyes. You are not contained within thought. You are the seeing itself. And when that is recognized, the obsession with self begins to fade. You no longer need to defend your identity because there is no one to defend. You no longer need to control your narrative because you see it for what it is, a play of thought. Life becomes lighter, quieter, not dull, more vivid in fact. Because without the self in the center, everything stands out. Every sound is clearer, every color more vibrant, every breath more alive. There is no self to protect, so there is nothing to fear. There is no self to promote, so there is nothing to prove. There is only this moment, unfolding. Only this awareness, a knowing. Only this life, living itself. The search for the self does not end in discovery. It ends in disappearance. And in that disappearance, what remains is not a void, but a vastness. And that vastness is home. Chapter 6. The Mirror of Awareness. Awareness is not something we do. It's what we are. Before thought, before memory, before sensation. There is simply knowing. Not knowing something in particular, but the raw fact of experience itself. And this knowing, this awareness, is like a mirror. Silent, clear, reflecting everything without preference, without grasping, without judgment. This mirror has no shape, it has no form. You cannot touch it, and yet you cannot escape it. It is always here, whether the mind is busy or still, whether the body is at rest or in motion. It is the silent presence beneath every experience, the one thing that never leaves. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. Sensations flicker in and out of perception. But the mirror remains, unchanged, untouched. What appears in it may shift endlessly, but the mirror itself is constant. When you hear the voice in your head narrating your day, reacting to events, telling its stories, notice what is listening. Not just that you are aware, but awareness itself. Not someone being aware, but awareness being. The shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Most people live with their attention captured by the contents of the mirror, by thoughts, images, feelings. They are so absorbed in the reflection that they forget the mirror is even there. They identify with what they see in it. They chase the beautiful reflections and resist the unpleasant ones. They believe the mirror is stained by what appears in it. But no reflection ever alters the mirror. No thought pollutes awareness. No emotion, however intense, leaves a mark. Everything arises. Everything passes. But the space of knowing remains, untouched. This is freedom, not in controlling the reflections, but in recognizing what is reflecting them. Even pain, even fear, even confusion, they are just patterns moving through the field of awareness. They are not personal. They are not you. They are waves in the ocean, and you are the ocean, not the wave. This is not a metaphor. It is a pointer to something immediate and real. Try now to locate awareness. Not an object, not a thought, but the very capacity in which this moment is known. Can you find it? Can you grasp it? No, because it is not an object. It is not a thing. It is the open space in which things appear, and that open space is not limited by the body. It is not located behind the eyes or inside the brain. These are ideas, constructs, concepts. In direct experience, awareness is boundless. It has no edges. It does not begin here and end there. It simply is. And in this isness, there is no self, no thinker, no controller. Just the witnessing of what is. This witnessing is not cold or distant. It is not detachment in the way the ego fears. It is intimate, gentle, closer than breath, more immediate than thought. It is the ground of being itself. When you live from this place, not as an effort, but as a recognition, something softens. The urgency of thought loses its grip. The compulsive need to identify with every emotion begins to fall away. You don't stop feeling. You don't stop thinking. But you stop being defined by the feelings and thoughts. There is still joy, still sadness, still frustration and hope and desire. But they move through you like weather through the sky, and you, the sky, remain vast, open, unaffected. You begin to trust this space, not as an idea, but as a truth you return to again and again. Whenever life becomes overwhelming, whenever the story feels heavy, you remember, the mirror is still here. And in that remembering, peace returns. You no longer have to push things away. You no longer have to hold things tightly. You simply let everything arise, let everything pass, and stay as the mirror. This is not something to achieve. It's not something to sustain. It's something to notice, and keep noticing. Awareness has never left you. It has never changed. It has never been touched by the storm. You've just been distracted by the storm's noise. But now, you are remembering. And what you are remembering is not new. It's what you've always been. The mirror doesn't need fixing. It only needs to be seen. Chapter 7. The Disappearance of Time. Time feels like the most concrete reality we know. We measure our lives in it. We chase the future. We analyze the past. We count the minutes, plan the days, and mourn the years. Thought is constantly referring to time. What happened? What might happen? What should happen next? But what is time? Truly, in direct experience. Can you find it? This thing called past. Can you show it to yourself? Not the memory of it. Not the story. But the actual thing. And what of the future? Where is it now? All we ever truly experience is the present, the now. Not a moment in time, but a timeless presence. A field in which all experience happens. When we look closely, we see that time exists only in thought. The past is memory, mental images and narratives arising now. The future is imagination, projections, scenarios, hopes, and fears, all arising now. Even the idea of now is something the mind tries to pin down. But this moment is not a point between two others. It's a field open and immeasurable. Thought creates the illusion of time by sequencing events and labeling them. It compares this moment to the last. It predicts what's next. But all of this happens here, in the space of awareness. Outside of thought, there is only presence. This realization does not require philosophy. It requires attention. Look around. Feel into this moment. Is anything actually happening in the past? Is anything truly unfolding in the future? Or is everything, always, happening now? The body breathes now. Sounds arise now. Thoughts unfold now. The idea of time passes through awareness, like clouds across a sky. But awareness itself does not move. It does not age. It does not plan. It does not regret. It simply witnesses. This is why spiritual teachers across traditions speak of being present. But presence is not something to do. It's what remains when the mind stops chasing elsewhere. When you stop leaning into a future that never arrives. When you stop grasping at a past that no longer exists. What remains is this. And in this, there is peace. Not because things stop happening, but because the struggle with time dissolves. The sense of urgency fades. The fear of missing out. The dread of what's to come. The ache for what is past. All of these are mental movements. Stories that awareness quietly holds, but does not participate in. The ego is built from time. It survives by referencing the past and projecting into the future. I've always been this way. One day, I'll change. They hurt me back then. I hope it works out. Without these narratives, the ego has no ground to stand on. It can't survive the simplicity of now, and so it resists the present. It distracts. It plans. It seeks stimulation. Anything but stillness. Because in stillness, the illusion of time begins to unravel, and with it, the illusion of the one who lives in time. You were not born into time. Time was born into you. It's a tool, a function of thought, a way of organizing experience, useful in the world, but not ultimate, not real in the deepest sense. You don't have to give up using a calendar or making plans, but you no longer have to be imprisoned by time. You no longer have to see yourself as a character moving from one point to another, struggling to improve, to arrive, to succeed. You are already here. You have never left. Right now is not a moment. It is the only reality, and it is always now. Notice how, in the absence of thought, time disappears. There's just breath, just sensation, just the sound of the wind, just the stillness in between. Try sitting in this timeless space. Let go of past and future. Let go of becoming. Let go of waiting. Let go of the next thing. And simply rest in what is, not as an effort, not as a practice, but as a recognition. There is no time, only presence, and presence is what you are. Chapter 8. Emotion without ownership. Emotions arise like weather in the body, sometimes sudden and fierce, sometimes soft and slow-moving. One moment, peace. The next, sorrow. Then joy, frustration, longing. Most of us don't just feel emotions. We become them. We identify with them. We say, I am angry, or I am afraid, or I am heartbroken. But are you? Let's look closely. When an emotion arises, where is it? Perhaps in the chest, the throat, the belly. It has a sensation, a felt quality. There may be tightness, heat, trembling, pressure. And around the sensation, the mind begins to weave a story. This shouldn't be happening. It's their fault. I'll never feel better. These stories fuel the emotion. They feed it. They give it shape and identity. But pause for a moment. Strip away the story. What remains? Just sensation, just energy, just experience, unfolding in awareness. Without the story, there is no one being hurt, no one being betrayed, no one being blamed. There is just the pure felt sense, raw, alive, moving. This is the beginning of freedom from emotional suffering. Not by avoiding emotions, but by meeting them without ownership. Not my pain, but pain is here. Not I am anxious, but anxiety is arising. This small shift changes everything. It removes the burden of identity. It opens space around the feeling. It allows the emotion to move, to breathe, to dissolve in its own time. Try it now. Bring to mind a recent emotion. Not the story, just the feeling. Where did it appear in the body? What did it feel like? Was it solid or shifting? Was it constant or moving? Now ask, did you create it? Did you choose it? Did you say, I'd like to feel this now? Of course not. It arose like thought. It passed like thought. It was witnessed like thought. The mind will often say, but this is my pain. I have a reason to feel this way. They cause this in me. And in a way, it may be true. There may be causes, stories, history, but the truth of the moment is always simpler. Emotion is appearing in awareness. It does not require a self to justify it. It does not prove the presence of a self. It is just energy, visiting, staying a while, and eventually leaving. Even grief, which can feel so personal and deep, is an appearance. It feels heavy. It moves slowly. It weaves through the heart. But it, too, is known by something larger. Something still, something untouched. Awareness holds it all. In that holding, healing happens. Not by fixing or changing, but by no longer resisting. When emotion is seen clearly, Without the burden of ownership, it becomes part of the unfolding dance of experience. Not a problem, not a threat, just weather in the sky. You don't argue with a thunderstorm. You don't take it personally. You wait, you listen, you feel the rain. The same is true of sadness, or anger, or fear. You don't need to suppress it. You don't need to indulge it. You simply see it, feel it, and let it pass through. This seeing is not detachment. It's intimacy. You're closer to the emotion than ever before, not trapped inside it, but resting in the awareness that contains it. No emotion can touch that awareness. No feeling can stain the mirror. No wave can disturb the depth of the ocean. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which they appear. Let them come. Let them pass. Let them be what they are, without the story, without the self, without resistance. This is not avoidance. It is the deepest form of presence. And in that presence, every feeling is allowed, and everything begins to heal. Chapter 9. The Freedom of Letting Be. The mind is a fixer, a doer, a planner. It's constantly reaching for the next improvement, the next solution, the next escape. It believes that peace will arrive when things are different, when the body feels better, when the relationship is resolved, when the future is secured, when the past is understood. But what if peace is not found in doing, fixing, or changing? What if peace is what remains when we stop interfering? What if freedom is not in getting what we want, but in letting everything be exactly as it is? Letting be does not mean resignation. It does not mean apathy or giving up. It means stepping out of the mind's habitual push and pull. It means allowing this moment, whatever it contains, to be what it is, without resistance. Look now at your own experience. Is there anything you are resisting? Maybe a thought you don't want to have, a feeling you wish would go away, a sensation that seems too much, a memory, a fear, a tension in the body. Now gently, without judgment, let it be. Let the thought exist without trying to replace it. Let the feeling rise and fall without labeling it. Let the body be as it is, tense, relaxed, heavy, still. This is not something the mind can do. This is something awareness naturally is. The moment you stop trying to change the moment, you begin to feel what the moment actually is. And what is it? Just this: presence, a flow of sensations, a rhythm of being, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, arising and falling, like waves on an endless sea. The tension begins to loosen when we stop grasping, when we stop pretending to be in control, when we stop arguing with life. Letting be is not the end of caring. It's the beginning of care without struggle, of love without fear, of action without attachment. The tree does not argue with the wind. The ocean does not resist the storm. They bend. They move. They remain. You, too, are part of this natural unfolding. You don't have to hold it all together. You don't have to solve every thought. You don't have to purify yourself. Letting be is the realization that you were never broken, and there is nothing more to become. Let the sadness be sadness. Let the joy be joy. Let the numbness, the doubt, the clarity, the silence be exactly as they are. In this letting be, things begin to shift. Not because you forced them, but because you gave up fighting them. Like mud settling in a glass of water, clarity returns when you stop stirring. There may be pain, there may be uncertainty, but even pain can be met with openness. Even uncertainty can be held in awareness. You don't have to make it go away. You only need to stop pretending. It shouldn't be here. This is surrender. Not a collapse, but a softening. Not a giving up, but a giving in to what already is. A melting into reality, unfiltered by expectation. And when you melt, you merge. You merge with the breath, the sounds, the stillness. You begin to sense what life is like without the veil of resistance, without the layer of commentary, without the story that insists something is wrong. You begin to live in alignment with life itself, not separated, not above, not behind, but in it, as it. Letting be is not a technique. It's not a spiritual exercise. It is the natural expression of awareness once it no longer identifies with the mind. It is what happens when there is no longer a you trying to make life different. And, in that space, you discover the deepest truth. Everything is already allowed. Everything is already unfolding. Everything is already held. Let it be. Let it breathe. Let it pass. Chapter 10. Nothing to awaken. The journey of awakening often begins with a search for truth, for peace, for God, for enlightenment. It seems like something is missing, something essential. And if we just read enough, sit long enough, purify deeply enough, we will find it. We will arrive. But what if there's nothing to find? What if what you've been searching for has never been absent? The paradox of awakening is that it does not reveal something new. It reveals what has always been the case. It is not about becoming something. It is about recognizing that you were never anything other than awareness itself. You've been told that you must awaken, that you must transcend, that you must dissolve the ego, master the mind, detach from desire. These instructions may point in the right direction, but they also reinforce the very illusion they're meant to undo. The illusion that there is someone here who must awaken. Look closely. Who is on the path? Who is seeking awakening? Who is waiting to arrive? Isn't that you just another thought, another image, another construction of memory? This moment, the one happening now, needs nothing added to it. The breath is already here. The awareness is already here. Experience is unfolding without your help. Life is being lived. The idea that you must become awakened is like a wave trying to reach the ocean. You already are what you seek. You always have been. Awakening is not the achievement of a self. It is the absence of a self in need of achievement. It is the clear seeing that thoughts arise without ownership, that emotions appear without a center, that the I who was striving was only ever a mirage. This doesn't mean the world vanishes. It means the false center, the imagined self at the middle of experience, dissolves. What remains is life, unfiltered, presence, unattached, awareness, without a knower. And in that, there is peace. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of simplicity. The peace of being what you are, with no need to improve it. There is no final state, no badge of awakening, no ending to the unfolding of experience. Even this, right now, as you listen, is awakening, not as a moment of fireworks and revelation, but as the quiet truth that nothing needs to happen. You are already home. You have never left. The search was a dream. And the dreamer? Just another dream. What is here now? Beneath the thoughts. Beneath the seeking. Beneath the you who wants to understand. Silence. Stillness. Being. Not yours. Not anyone's. Just being. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Let it end here. Let it be simple. Let the journey drop away. There is nothing to awaken. Because what you are has never been asleep. Because what you are is this. Thank you for listening.